Hello and welcome. The practice that I'd like to share with you today is what I like to call the weighted sigh. We'll also be incorporating into this sighing practice some other elements as well, including yawning and also creating sound through moaning, groaning, or whatever sound the body wants to express, particularly on that sigh. Sighing and yawning in particular are natural ways that the body will draw on potentially throughout the day. Maybe you've noticed how you yawn or sigh throughout the day as a way of naturally trying to regulate the nervous system. So if you think about the contexts or the circumstances in which you might find yourself sighing, it may be when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when it's been a long day, there's a lot of angst or anxiety building within the system. And the body will naturally draw on the sighing process as a way of trying to release and expel some of that anxiety and that pent up energy. The yawning as well is a way in which we are starting to engage the parasympathetic nervous system. So bringing us into that rest and digest component of the autonomic nervous system. So when we consciously engage these elements, the sigh and the yawn, we are consciously supporting the regulation of the nervous system. So we're supporting that process and acknowledging what it is that the body is trying to accomplish. With the weighted sigh, we're acknowledging the built-up frustration, angst, anger, whatever it is that you're feeling internally. We're acknowledging that internal somatic felt sense, and we're now consciously trying to express that or expel that out through the sigh. So it's a way of consciously tuning in to your body and what your body is trying to accomplish, and supporting it in that process of actually engaging with that sighing element. I like to add an additional component to this, and that is to release sound through the sigh, whether that be a moan or a groan or some other sound that wants to escape as you're creating that sigh. And for me personally, it feels like I'm giving the body, the somatic body, a voice that doesn't necessarily need to engage with words. So it's acknowledging what I'm feeling internally and now creating a way in which to express that and to release that from within. So the sounds don't have to be pretty, they don't have to make sense. And sometimes it can even be surprising when you allow yourself to really sort of drop into this practice. It can be surprising the kind of sound that does come out from within, but it creates a beautiful way of expressing and releasing a lot of that pent up energy. For many of my clients that I work with, whereby we engage with this practice, not so much the sigh, but more so the creation of sound with that sigh. Many of my clients in the early phases of working with this style of release find making sound challenging, surprisingly challenging, or they feel a degree of discomfort with it. I invite you to come into this practice with a sense of curiosity as to how it feels for you to create sound, whether that is a very easy and comfortable thing for you to do, or whether expressing yourself, openly expressing yourself in this way is challenging. And just bearing in mind, of course, that when we come into these kind of practices with this degree of awareness and curiosity, when we find something that is challenging for us, this is creating an opportunity for us to acknowledge what might be that sticking point. So is there something about expressing yourself openly? Is there something about communication and feeling that you potentially need to hold back in some way? Is there something in regards to where you've perhaps tried to express yourself in the past and you weren't heard or valued in the way that you needed? So when we come across these sticking points or these areas of discomfort, it gives us an opportunity to explore a little bit further into, well, why is this so? What is it that's challenging for me in this moment? So, as I said, I invite you to come into this practice with a degree of openness and curiosity. So I invite you to come into a seated position, any seated position that's comfortable for you. And if you need a moment or two to take in your surroundings, so you feel comfortable and settled in the space that you're in. And then when you feel ready, I invite you to close down the eyes if that feels comfortable for you today. Otherwise, you're very welcome to just gaze into your lap, but just allowing your eyes to rest on one point so that you can start to turn your gaze, your awareness inwardly. And then I invite you to come into your breath. Just notice the rhythm of your breathing. And just starting to notice how you feel internally today. Acknowledging whatever it is that might be just below the surface, whether that be physical, mental, thought and worry, emotional, or anything else that's circulating for you. And I invite you now, as you feel ready, to join me in sighing. So we breathe in through the nose and a long sigh out through the mouth. Let's see if you can feel the drop in the shoulders as you sigh. And see if you can feel into the internal sensation as you release this sigh. Maybe you start to tune into the sound of that outward breath. And I invite you now to start adding some weight to your sigh. And what I mean by that is starting to draw on what you're feeling internally and adding that to your sigh. So perhaps the outward breath becomes heavier, or maybe even sound starts to join it. And just allowing your body to start expressing on that sigh. And as I said, the sound doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to make sense. It's just coming from internally. If you feel that you're starting to tune into something, some degree of internal discomfort, angst, anxiety, worry, that you're really working hard to release on this outward breath, sometimes I like to draw on facial expression with this as well. So maybe really opening up wide through the mouth, perhaps even sticking out the tongue like you're trying to purge this unwanted feeling outwardly on that out breath. Maybe it's something that feels really stuck from within, and you need to dig deep to get underneath it, to lift it up and bring it out. Ah. Perhaps the inhale starts to become a little stronger as well to support this strong exhalation and release. We'll just take 2 more of these sighs if you feel that you've got a couple left. And then I invite you to just shift into a yawn. So even if it's a fake yawn where you're just sort of opening wide the mouth, drawing breath in and then out. Maybe moving the jaw around, noticing if the jaw feels locked or tight. Maybe sound continues to escape through this yawn, maybe in a slightly different way with a different context this time. Good. Maybe just a couple more if they're still available. Good. Just taking a moment or two to just notice how you feel. If anything's changed for you. Maybe you feel a little lighter. Maybe the breath feels a little differently. And just to finish, I invite you to just slowly lick your lips, like you've just eaten something really delicious and the flavor is lingering on your lips. Just exploring the texture of your lips, heightening your awareness, sensory awareness of your lips. Licking the lips encourages the production of saliva, so noticing if you need to swallow. And this is a really good sign that we're starting to activate that rest and digest component of the nervous system. You may like to bring that exploration of your mouth internally now. So just running your tongue around the inside of your cheeks, feeling into the softer texture there. Mm. And then when you're ready, just allowing your mouth to close softly. And just finishing with 3 conscious breaths. So consciously following your inhale all the way through to your exhale, if you can. And if you are distracted, if your thoughts are taken elsewhere, just notice where they've gone. And then bring yourself back to watching the breath. The inhale moving through to the exhale. Good. And then as you feel ready, you may like to lower the chin towards the chest. And just to start blinking open the eyes again, allowing the light to filter in from below. And then just lifting the gaze when you feel ready. So there we have it. That's the weighted sigh paired with yawning and moaning and or groaning. I like to utilize that practice sometimes when I'm in the car, if I'm feeling that I'm getting a bit anxious, being stuck in traffic, or if I know that I'm heading towards something, maybe heading into a meeting or something that I'm feeling a little bit challenged going into. This is a really nice way to start regulating and working with the nervous system, acknowledging what you're feeling internally and providing a mode of release for that. I'd love to hear your experiences with the practice and how you feel you can utilize it throughout the day. Have a lovely day. Namaste.